All right, guys, we've had a chance. We've had the last hour and 15, 20 minutes to go through and figure out disabilities, how you're going to work with the disabilities, who's going to be in charge, and what's going to go. So we'll start with blue team. Who wants to go first on blue team? Okay.
So whoever's leading.
So Megan, you're the quad. Who is in charge of your
That would be me.
Okay, Joshua. So Joshua's in charge. Who's your assistants?
Nikki and David.
Okay. So do your dry briefing with Megan.
All right. So your signals are going to blink and nod for yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And double blink. Just make sure that the blinks are obvious. And a no, right? 2 blinks and a no. Ears cleared, right?
Mhm.
Whatever. Go up. Just look up. Go down,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Whatever. We're going to do mask removal, right? So I'll say okay, remove, replace, and then you'll just say okay, right? And then I'll remove your mask and then put your mask back on, and then I'll squeeze your nose a little bit, and you can.
You don't need to squeeze my nose.
Or
I have
she
a
yawns,
purge. I have a purge.
We're also clearing. So I'll just push on the top of the mask, and then you just breathe out.
Perfect.
Right, and clear.
Yep.
And then your other thing, ear clearing. Yeah. So just give the signal, and then you can either yawn, and if that works, then you can say right, or if it doesn't, then you can say no, and I can pinch your nose.
Yes.
What are your assistants in charge of?
Nikki's going to be on the right because she's the right person today, and David's going to be on the left. They're gonna the person on the right is going to be in charge of the regulators, so making sure they stay in the mouth and making sure that everything that would be on the right side is taken care of, and then Nikki on the left will be taking care of the inflator and the buoyancy.
David on the left.
David's on the left.
I
Sorry,
can't do both.
sorry,
Sorry.
Nikki.
I
You
believe
got
in you,
Friday
Nick.
break.
It's been-
I
it's
can't
been
do
a
both
long
tonight.
day.
You didn't bring your clothes tonight? No.
Now, with your quadriplegic, is there always going to be contact?
Yeah, David and Nikki are going to be holding on to her, whether it's the ladder or whatever.
What's the other whatever that they would hold on to?
Well, the webbing or just a part of the BC.
Okay. Why wouldn't you want them to hold on to the arms?
Well, they can't fill it, and it could potentially cause an injury.
Absolutely. So they're going to make sure that they always hold the BC, and they're going to control their side. And then what is your field of focus?
I'm watching, making sure things are going fine. Watching for eye signals and head movement, making sure that there's air coming out of the regulator, and making sure that the mask isn't flooding.
Perfect. How about your dive buddies? The assistant, are you watching them as well?
Watching my fourth.
Your dive buddies.
Oh yeah, I'm watching to make sure that they're generally supervising.
I'm just
Perfect.
being mentally retarded in the pool.
Absolutely. All right, Nikki, who's your person? Who are you in charge of?
No, Josh.
Oh, she's in charge of me. That's
Oh, I'm in charge of Josh,
Okay.
that is a paraplegic,
So Josh is a paraplegic. Okay.
and Megan is assisting.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but it's been a really long day, and that's about as much as the brain as you got left.
And we're doing an entry and exit.
Yeah,
Okay. So walk me through that. How are you doing your entry? How are you doing your exit?
I don't remember.
You're gonna sling me to the edge.
Oh yeah, we're gonna use the sling to get him to the edge of the pool.
With our assistant.
Yes, with
Your
4 of
surface
us,
support.
getting him to the edge of the pool and the shallow end, and then getting out. We're gonna take part of his gear off, part of the BC off, put the sling through, and then remove the rest of the BC so we can grease them out with the sling as well.
Okay. And he's a paraplegic, right?
Yes,
Okay. So what? So he's a level what?
we're assuming a level 2.
Okay. So how many dive buddies?
2.
Okay. And what's your dive buddy's responsibility?
I don't know that we really talked about dive buddy responsibility. He wants to be fairly self-sufficient, and he thinks he can do all of the mask and regulator drills. So, but we do need assistance for propulsion. So that would be my assumption. Is that
Okay. So are you going to give him the ability to be on his own, or is somebody going to be holding?
I don't know. We didn't really talk about it. So I would assume, Josh, do you want to be able to like move your arms and move around try to move
Yes,
around by
try-
yourself?
Josh
I'll
has got
try,
his
and then
own
if I need
little-
help. I got a little scooter.
Yeah,
Easy
he's
peasy.
got.
Yeah, there you go. But as a new diver,
Says in the manual that it's a
that's a
equipment
thing.
adjustment.
Get some
Okay.
Ziploc
So,
sandwich
okay, so-
bags and make you a little-
What are the positions of each dive buddy?
One on each side.
Okay. And so who's the other dive buddy?
Megan is
Megan?
what we decided. I
Okay.
believe.
And since you're in charge of this, what is Megan's responsibilities to watch for?
I don't know.
He doesn't sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
So she's, and where
She
what are your
would be
positions?
then on the left side, and I would end up on the right side. 'Cause
Okay.
I can remember right tonight.
Okay, so
I can't
if
know.
you're on the, so if she's on the left side, what is her responsibilities?
The inflator and
Helping with propulsion?
yes,
Okay, and then so you're on the left side then,
no,
or
I'm
you're on the right side. So you're on the right side. What are your responsibilities?
Uh, regulators
And
and propulsion.
okay, there you go. So that's, as you guys think about this, you need to think about it to the nth degree. Who's going to be where? What is your area specifically of responsibility? Right? We need to make sure that we're planning all those pieces, because if it doesn't need to be said, it usually needs to be said, right? If you remember that story of everybody, somebody, nobody, and everybody, right? We got to make sure that somebody is assigned to this specifically, right? And that somebody has to actually have a name. Megan, you're on the left side. You're going to be holding and watching that regulator. You're going to help with propulsion. Your contact points that we've talked to him are okay. That he can touch you can touch the bladder if you start to see him sink, or if he needs additional help with propulsion, or you can grab the webbing. Those are okay points. Because he's a paraplegic, his legs are kind of a no-go zone. But we can watch this. But what are we going to do happen with his legs, right? One of the things that I thought was interesting with Dad is he said in his dry suit, he knew when his feet were floated because they'd whack him in the face, right? If he's a paraplegic, does he have legs? Is he a spinal cord injury? Or is he a paraplegic because he lost them because he was sitting on the railroad tracks, right? How did he lose them? Does he have legs? Does he not have legs? Does he have, in this case, you're just one leg or paraplegic? Paraplegic, right? So does he have stumps or does he have legs? Is it a spinal injury? What additional things are challenges with that spinal injury? Is there a catheter we need to worry about? Is there is our colostomy bag that we need to worry about? And those are things you need to talk to and really develop out. We can't have those shy conversations. Everything has to be clear on the table. This becomes a marriage because you're saving their life. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's why
I can handle the valves.
that's one of the things Nikki and
gonna
I,
open
why we're
the
married,
catheter.
is that Mickey said that she could trust me with her life underwater because we're very clear on that. Or we're always together. We're good buddies, right? So it's got to be the same way. They have to be able to trust you underwater. They can't communicate, and they're a lot less powerful than they were on the surface, right? Because at least at the surface they could hear you talk and you could talk to them. Communication was a key thing, and when we all lose all that communication, things get challenging, right? So be very, very clear. Josh, I'm going to be on your left. And I'm going to hold that bladder. Would that be okay with you? Yeah. Right? What if I start to notice your legs flap? Would it be okay if I pushed them back into position?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right? Megan,
Would you
you're
feel
going to
more comfortable with a same-sex diver?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I already wanted me to dry him off, so.
I didn't say you had to dry me off. I just said I would need dried off.
Yeah. Josh is Josh is wanting a happy ending dive, I guess. But
He doesn't question it.
so perfect. All right, so David, who are you in charge of?
Ben.
Okay.
So Ben has he's an amputee above the knee on his left leg, and so he's going to need help getting in. We're focusing on getting him into the water. We discussed getting him to the side of the pool, well, where he can sit there, and then since he's a level 1 or category 1, or what it was called, was it category level
Classification.
classification 1?
Yes.
Then he just needs one assistant. I'll help him anywhere that he needs, getting his gear on, but pretty much because he's simply missing a leg, we're assuming, and he feels that he can put all of his gear on himself. If I place it behind him, he can do all the straps and so forth. And then as far as entry, he just wants to kind of get a little nudge and help him into the pool. After that, then he's going to be doing a single he's going to be doing fin techniques with a single fin. He feels that he doesn't need a lot of assistance there. He's going to be doing the flutter kick primarily with his right leg. Right leg. And then it's not here on the page, but since this exercise starts at the door, we need to complete the exercise by getting him out of the pool. So the plan is we'll go over to the stairs or to the edge. He'll take off his equipment, give it to me, and then from that point on, he can get up the stairs by using the handrail, or if he needs assistance, and I can meet him at the top of the stairs and help him any further that he needs.
Okay. I'll be interested to see how he gets up the stairs. Because remember, if he's in the water hopping on one leg and getting up is going to definitely be more challenging. So just be aware, you're going to have that resistance from getting up. So you'll want to make sure that you're staying close to him, because maybe he's a new amputee. Maybe he just lost it 3 months ago, and we're still trying to figure out that balance thing, right? I've seen some of those guys with one legs that are like, holy crap, that's pretty cool. But we've also seen those ones that are, they're one-sided trees. They just flop right over.
So we've talked through this, but reality may be different.
Absolutely,
So
reality will
we'll
differ.
just adjust to the situation.
Absolutely, good job. And that's exactly reality. It's not reality may be different. Reality will be different. So, okay, Ben, who's your diver?
Dave is my diver. He's a right leg amputee,
Left.
or left leg.
Your matchies.
Oh, we are matchies. Okay, sorry, left leg.
Left leg above the knee.
He's going to need help getting into the pool. And as long as he has the gear next to him, he can get his gear on. And then we talked about getting into the pool. And then he's also going to be doing the fin techniques as well, either the dolphin or the, what do we say? The
Flutter.
Yeah, the flutter. And then exit also, making sure, taking off his gear, and then I'll grab the gear from him and then assisting with him if he needs assistance getting further to the edge of the pool and then fully out of the pool.
Okay. Now, during your dive, one of my questions is, how far away are you going to ever get from your
More than
handicap
an
diver?
arm's length distance.
Absolutely, you want to be close, just closer than an arm's length distance. Remember?
Right.
So if I'm here, I may not be able to have that. And so one of the things you want to think about, and this is one of the great things that I learned to become an instructor from Brett when I worked at that point and became a full instructor, is if you can touch your elbows and touch your diver at the same time, you're probably in the right range. And as Josh will tell you, if I'm at that point, I've got you. If I get to the point where I have to reach for you, it's amazing how fast somebody can get away from you. So in terms of working with a handicapped diver, you want to think of that, the T-Rex arms, right? When I get that point where I'm on you, and I can strike like that cobra, right? And with the T-Rex arms. But because if I've got here, maybe it's too late. Maybe something happens. Maybe the deep has sucked them down. So think about your proximity with this as well. This has got to be very much that new diver at that point until they build trust. And absolutely, with a left leg above the knee, this may be a person that says, hey, don't touch me. I'll put my damn gear on. Just help me set it on the ground. I'll flop my butt on the deck, scooch over to it, get it on, and I'll scooch my butt over to the end and I'll throw myself in, right? They certainly may be that. And Nikki and I have actually seen that. It's pretty cool. From a 70-year-old guy with a rebreather. I was impressed that a 70-year-old guy was using a CCR anyway, but with one leg, he would kick our butts. So think about that, right? What does that look like? Good job. Megan, your turn.
I have Nikki, and she has a right leg above the knee amputation and a right arm above the elbow amputation.
You got the short end of the stick today.
Yep. So she is we decided she's a classified 2 diver. So I guess Ben will be my assistant because we didn't talk about that. So as far as regulator retrieval, all she would like us to do is if that regulator does come out, we will retrieve that regulator and present it to her, and then she will use her left hand to put it in her mouth because she doesn't want us putting it in her mouth. We're just going to present it to her. And then as far as mask removal and replacement, she would like to do it on her own. and then she will signal to us if she's unable to seal it and get the strap on her head. She said the problem is probably going to be getting the strap on her head.
I can see that.
And if that is an issue, she'll take it off and put her mask out, signaling to us that she wants us to assist her with that.
Okay. Where will Ben be in the water at all times?
Ben will be on her right side.
Okay, because so Ben's handling the regulator,
Mm-hmm.
and she's which arm?
She's
right
right
arm,
arm
sorry. So and Ben, you said it's going to be on the right, so
Mhm.
he's regulator, and you're
on the left.
backup inflator,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and that's one of the things you want to clarify. I'm always going to be on the diver's right. I'm always going to be on the diver's left. Be very, very clear, right? If it needs to go, if it goes without saying, then it needs to be said. I got that from Mike Schechter. Is in with standards. Be very, very transparent and very, very clear. Nikki, you'll always see me on your right, and then stay there. Do what you say, right? Say what you're going to do, and then do it, and always be very clear. If something happens, Nikki, I'll be on your left. If that's my position, and if you have any problems and you're starting to do that, and I see you start to sink, if it's okay, I'm going to reach over. I'm going to grab that inflator, just give you a little puff, just to make sure you stay buoyant. Because the last thing I want you to do is sink down the wall. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So be really, really clear. Sound good?
Yeah.
Good job. All right, red team. I'm going to just sit this right over here. All right, who wants to go first? Mike, why don't you start? Who's your diver?
My diver's Brett,
Okay, so who are your assistants then?
I'll be the lead. Bert's gonna be on his left, and Adam's gonna be on his right. Unless we get in the water and we decide we need to change that, and we will clarify that before we go under the water. But no plan survives contact with first contact with reality, so we have to be able to move and adapt if necessary.
Fair enough.
The skills that we have to perform with Brett is mask removal and replacement. So we've discussed it with him, and we'll just use standard signals, and he will indicate, hey, he'll indicate he's ready with a wink. I will help him with clearing his mask. Once it's back on him, I'll put it back on him and then help him clear it. As far as clearing ears goes, we've discussed how he needs to indicate, and if he tips his head to one side or the other, we know that ear is a problem, or that ear is a problem. He needs to clear. So since I'm lead, I'll hold his nose for him while he clears his ears. We'll have Kurt will be controlling his buoyancy. He's on the left side where the BC inflator is.
Mhm.
Don't know what else I need to tell you.
And then you got Adam on the right side, watching for regulator and watching for bubbles, right?
Right.
And you want to make sure you're clear with that. As you go through this, you got the regulators, okay? So make sure you keep a clear eye on his safety second as well as his primary. If something were to happen and that falls out, if you can't get a hold of that primary and the primary, grab that safety second and get that in there immediately. And don't forget to purge, right? And while it seems basic for us, but what ends up happening, especially in a purge, is we get really natural at it. I mean, there's more than once I take a breath in, take me a little drink of the soupy, slimy water at a right rate, and then I put it back in, and I don't even think about it. It's so second nature at this point that I don't even think about it. So remember, you're doing it on somebody else, and now it could be just like, and they're taking that tablespoon of water in, and that's not going to be a pretty situation for them at all. So be very clear. As I put that regulator back in your mouth, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tap you. If you don't have the air to breathe out, give me a shake, and I'll give you a quick purge. Is that okay? Right? So make sure you're very distinctly detailed and clear on this, because the things you take for granted, and that's one of the things with handicap is there's a lot of things we take for granted every single day. Good eyesight, right? We take into account that I can throw my glasses on, I can read this crap, but there are now people we know that this could be in Chinese for all.
So for me, all they have to do is put the regulator in my mouth, and I can clear it even if I can't blow.
Sure. But if you're not an experienced diver, that could be a problem. But be very clear. But in communication, and I think Kurt brought this up several times, and I love that, is that we've got to make sure if this comes out, I'm going to put it in, and I can purge it for you, or you can self-purge. But if there gets to be a situation where you're at the bottom of the breath and you're in
If you're
panic,
wondering about it, go ahead and hit the purge button.
exactly.
Yeah.
But be clear with that. You'll be the level of clarity and communication is going to go far and beyond what you're typically used to, because now you're doing it for somebody else with things that you may or may not take for granted, right? And the purge is something. When's the last time you actually thought about a purge other than class, right? While you're diving,
I don't do it other than class.
right?
I never do it. Even if I don't have any air in my lungs, I don't do it.
So it's we do it's just instinctive for us, right? If it comes out, it comes out. Or if I take it out to take a drink, you know, there's some sort of light clearing that happens regardless of this process. But I don't ever think about it. It's just part of. It's like blinking. I don't think about it, right? So be very, 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 very cognizant of that, especially with a newer diver, because I can't imagine you're gonna come across a quadriplegic that's got 5,000 dives.
Unless they became one after they got about 4,500.
That certainly could be, but I mean the chances of that are pretty thin. Perfect. That was good.
5,000 dive.
That was really good. Good clarity. Brett, who's your diver?
We picked Adam for me, did we not?
I believe so.
Yeah. So I'm lead on Adam, and he's a paraplegic. And our space assignment is we've got Kurt to his left, Mike to his right. And as we said before, if we get in the water for some reason things need to rotate, you know, upon that first initial hit, if things don't go right,
So why did you choose to have 3 dive buddies?
I'm the third.
Yeah, no, so you have 3 people on a level 2. Why?
We're all here.
Absolutely. Good job. Increased numbers increases safety. If you can do it, absolutely, it's great. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just wanted to hear the thought process. That's all.
No, so he's a brand new diver, and you know he's a little less comfortable.
Yeah, increased ratio makes increased
So,
safety.
Yeah, and the 4 of us all wanted to dive together anyway. That's why we're here.
There you go. Cool. Hey, no,
So-
it's all good.
Yeah, but Adam's issue, of course, means we need to help him with the entries and with the exits. We've discussed how he's the exits, the part that I think we're most concerned with, because he figures he can flop himself in no matter, you know, he's going to do the spawning salmon when he goes in. Yeah, just the upper body spawning salmon, but when it goes to obviously we're gonna carry him to the water's edge, and we're gonna place him down with his feet down and in, and then we're gonna have somebody get in the water to play catch before he enters, and then the other ones will help make sure he's in all the way.
Good job.
And as far as the exit goes, we were planning on a shallow water exit, and we're gonna have 2 buddies down in the water, one get up. He says he can hold on to the straps if we use the lift to help him lift him up, get him up to the water's edge. And our plan is to lift him up to water's edge, and then once he's there, the 2 at the bottom will help lift the legs to get him up.
Okay.
And the one above, one person will get out first, and will be the one lifting.
Any special signs and signals?
We hadn't discussed any special signs or signals for entries and exits because we figured we're going to be able to talk.
Sure.
At that point.
No, that's great. Just asking.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was some mention of a middle finger of things going on. But
Nothing but universal language.
Universal. Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, Kurt. Let's.
Uh,
Who's your diver?
I have Mike, left arm below the elbow.
Okay.
He has some mask removal and replacement. We're still going to do the same thing. We're still going to use everybody that's available. Adam will be on the left. Brett can be on the right.
Typically, with the left arm below the elbow, how many dive buddies would he really require?
Just the one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
Just being clear.
Yeah, absolutely. But where we have it available, the more the better. Practice makes perfect, as long as it's correct practice. And go on. Mike's gonna attempt to do it by himself onto it, see if he can remove his mask and put it back on. If not, he's going to hand it out to us. We will assist at that point.
Okay.
Do that. He'll be able to get himself in and out of the water. No issue there.
Once you're under the water, what's your sign and signal to ask him to do mask remove and replace?
Yeah, I'm going to point to him, pull out my mask out.
Okay.
And then he's going to nod. Yep. Tells me he's ready to go ahead and remove his mask.
Okay.
Go for that. Because at that, we don't have to physically remove it for him.
Sure.
Pretty simple. It's straightforward, you know. And there might be times that, and say on the quad cruise, we talked about going back there, you may need more than 3 people. You may need 5. We got a friend that wants to dive, but he weighs 450 pounds.
Mhm.
There's no way 2 of us are going to be able to lift him out. You know, so there might be times that you have to adapt in other situations.
Absolutely. And having that preparation ahead of time is fantastic. And that's what you want, is as much information as you can possibly get ahead of time and before you get in the water, and make sure you have all the appropriate resources.
Right. And go through this in a controlled environment prior to being out there.
Yeah. Good job. Adam, who's your diver?
Kurt. So, just like the last one, everything's very simple, the same as what we had before. The only difference, like we're all involved. We only necessarily one, but we're all there to help and support. Yeah, I guess so we originally talked about this. We didn't really assign sides. We were going to get in, and everybody knows the skills across the board as far as what we know. So if we're on that side, we find that side worked out better for us comfortability. As far as being comfortable, we're going to just kind of be assigned to that side since we already know that. We communicated the signs and drills. In this particular case, Kurt needed to be able to disconnect and reconnect his inflator, and he felt he could do that himself, to the point where if he wasn't able to get it, the person that was on that side was going to reach across and hold it while he pushed an inflator to that side to help to get that taken care of. Other than that,
That could definitely be a more difficult skill for
One-handed person, yeah.
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 I've
And-
seen two-handed people have a hard time with that one.
Yeah, so that was the only thing that we really needed to be able to assist with him to pass his skills. Everything else he felt like he could do himself. So, that was it.
And yeah, we realize he's probably, both of these are going to probably be a classified level 1,
Mhm.
but we still plan on diving together. We want to practice the skills together so that we can, that way if he goes diving with me another day, I've got practiced on what he needs, and Adam has practiced on what he needs. Mike has practiced on what he needs. All practicing together with him so that we have buddies, whenever we have an opportunity to go play.
Absolutely.
With all the intentions that these two will be a 0 soon.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely what you hope for, right? To be able to take a
lot of
class 2 to class
confidence,
1 and
don't you?
potentially a
Oh,
class
that's right.
0 or class 1 to eventually to a class 0. That's the dream, right? And that's where we want to get there. The only where we're probably going to get there, if they had to go through the process of being a classified 1, is they weren't confident enough at that point. But we're going to build comfort through repetition, just like SSI says, to the point that one day they don't actually need us as a classified dive buddy. They just want us as a team diver instead, right? I don't teach buddy diving. I teach team diving, right? And you get to that point where they could actually be of assistance to you. If something happened and you were the idiot, that you're one-armed person, right? Could do that, right? And that's absolutely the dream. And when they can handle all the skills on their own, independently of somebody else, then yay! That we dream of that.
Sorry.
So absolutely. So that's what we hope for. Good job. And that's I think the biggest secret to any plan of attack is the preparation and looking for all the problems and discussing all the challenges that could arise, preparing for them, mentally preparing for them. I love there was a talk a long time ago in General Conference, and the General Authority said there was this train. It was in the hills, and it was during the snow, and it was about to go off the tracks. And this engineer from the caboose, they had these things called cabooses back in the day, and he walked forward very patiently through a bunch of cars and started flipping switches and turning things until he got to the end of the train, and very calmly, while everybody else is freaking out, saves the train. And they asked him, what the hell? How did you know to do that? And how did you stay so calm? And he says, well, here's the deal. 40 years ago, I knew this could be a problem. I researched the problem, and I made a clear point and plan of attack that if this happens, I'll do this. Well, that happened. I did that. It all worked out. He pre-made the decision 40 years prior to the decision to do it. And that's what we're doing today, is we're pre-making those decisions of how we're going to do it in practice. And the same way, if you guys get an actual classified diver, you're going to make that, okay, Adam, I see that you have a challenge here. You're missing a leg, you're missing an arm, and you're missing half your nose, right? So let's talk about this. How can I'll be your classified dive buddy today. How can I help you? Let's go through this. What challenges do you have? You have, communication. Here's, how do you need help? Okay, you need help with it, right? Clear communication of all the key pieces. Really bold, unfearful conversation, right? Hey, I noticed that you're a T8 paraplegic. Now, we're going to be diving together. Is there anything with your colostomy bag or your urine bag that I need to be aware of that I can help you with, or that need to be part of that? Do you have a colostomy bag, or what's going on? Do you have any other? I noticed it looks like you're in a pretty good wreck. Is there anything else I should be aware of? Are you on pain medication? Or, what's going on? Be very, very straightforward and very open. You've got to have those conversations. They're not fearful. They're unafraid to ask the hard questions. So that's what I see. What do you guys think?
Tell him not to lick your colostomy bag.
Yes, please don't lick the colostomy bags. That sounds pretty gross.
Taste
What,
the chicken.
guys, what questions do you have at this point?
At this point, I think we're feeling like we want to go experiment with this and see how good our communication
Right.
was in advance.
Okay, guys, from this group, give me one thing you learned through this hour and a half conversation. Ben, what's one thing you kind of learned now that you've had to talk about it and kind of work through it and think about it? What's something you learned?
Just understanding the different handicaps that one person might have, or help that they need to scuba dive or fulfill their dreams or whatever.
So my question for you now becomes, you've seen 5 different ideas of a handicap that are possible, and they're pretty varied.
Right.
How do you think working with any one of these 5 would be different than working with somebody with Downs, autism, or a mental delay?
Oh, sure, pick that guy.
Did you not hear that I told him he's on that?
He's our Special Olympics.
I think it's challenging in different aspects, because somebody with Downs or autism, there's challenges with anything, because this person is missing a limb, or this person doesn't have use of any of their limbs, versus the person that has a mental. You have to have a slower process versus somebody that's missing a limb. So you got to take it at a different aspect versus what we're doing right here.
What similarities did you notice?
Just finding out what their disabilities are and what their strengths.
How about level of care?
Oh, yeah, level of care. Yeah, for sure.
Level of care is probably the same, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm going to communicate, I'm going to understand, and I'm going to be compassionate about that level of care with
for sure.
working with them. So, absolutely. David, did you learn anything?
Just reaffirm the importance of clarity and communication, and the devil's in the details. Make sure that you kind of played out the scenarios before, and then adapt as necessary.
Absolutely. And I like that. The devil is in the details. You've got to be, there's a level of detail that you're going to have to be with this that you typically won't go with the 9. This is my 9th dive standing on the dive boat. I hope she's watching, by the way. This is my 9th dive, right? There certainly you have to be a level of care, and you have to be communicative. You have to watch and be careful, but there's a level of detail that you have to go to that's even deeper than that. With somebody like this, there's a level of closeness that you're going to have to be with some of these people as well. So you're absolutely right. The level of the devil in the details got to be there. Nikki, what'd you pick up? Anything?
I think more than anything else, just drawing upon like memory and experience too, right? Like We mentioned a dive that we did last year with a fairly inexperienced diver. We talked to him a lot about what we would do beforehand, and then we got to the beach and that whole plan like set aside, and it was a very I think disappointing and scary experience for him as we debrief the dive and being able to recognize that this is more challenging than I think we may give it credit for in this scenario.
Absolutely. Josh, what'd you pick up?
That everyone's going to have different levels of wanting their independence, and that some of it might be a bit unrealistic, or some of it might be a little over realistic, right? So just making sure that that even though they want to try something or they want to be at a certain level, they might not be at that point right then, and to still be mindful of that.
Absolutely. Everybody's different. If you don't, and you don't know, I love that Dan said this several times, is you don't know, ask, right? And every single one of them is different. Meg?
The communication. Can't emphasize enough, like, how important communication is. And everybody communicates differently. Everybody hears things differently. So I could tell you that I saw a white elephant outside, and Ben might hear that there's a purple elephant. Like, I mean, that's a bad example, but depending on what I'm communicating, that other person could hear something else. So communicating and then having them reciprocate that yes, that's what I understood. Like, that's what we're going to do.
Cool. Right on. That's some good stuff. How about over this table? Mike, what'd you pick up?
I thought it was quite interesting, since I'm leading Brett, the discussion on how, not to beat a dead elephant, but the discussion on how we were going to communicate with him as a quadriplegic once we got under the water. Sign language, he's got nothing to motion with. It's all got to be just with his head and his eyes. How we can arrange that and still be effective with it.
Absolutely. As a level 3, the level of detail increases that much more, because now you have somebody that has no ability to do simple things like tell you, hey, my ears hurt. All of a sudden you've got to be somewhat a mind reader, so you have to clarify that ahead of time with something. You just can't take it for granted. So, good point. Brett?
So as I've been looking at this, and I tend to look at things from the instructor point of view, and I'm sitting here thinking, as a quadriplegic, if this guy goes to do mass clearing and he gets the freak out moment, you're going to have to be paying super, super close attention, because somebody's going to have to be, when he looks up, you better be lifting him up, because if he's going to do mass clearing and he looks up, he's telling you it's not quite right. But when we go to clear our mass, which way do we normally tip our head? We already tip it up. So now we've got a guy tipping his head up. And that doesn't necessarily mean he needs to go up, but we don't want to miscommunicate. I was thinking how hard it would be for someone, you've taught enough classes. You've had a student stand up on you before when you're doing mass clearing in the shallow. Anybody that has taught enough students has had that happen more than once, right? And I was thinking about how hard it would be for that person, this would be a huge challenge. Even as a diver with thousands of dives, going to go do that dive now as a quadriplegic, and I'm sitting there going, there's certain parts of this I've never really thought about, things I don't have to think about, and it's widening that viewpoint, just from the microscope view of my individual skill level to a wider viewpoint of what would a quadriplegic be able to do versus what are they going to be comfortable with, what level of independence does the quadriplegic want to have. Mm-hmm. The quadriplegic is somebody that I would certainly, be teaching variant techniques away from necessarily standardized techniques because of how varied the individual and their abilities might be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's why I like calling it adaptive diving over classified diving, because we're adapting the situation to meet the need. Mm-hmm. So you're right on target. Absolutely. We've got the level of detail, and I love this as an open water instructor, because I think it gives us another level of thought process as we teach open water. David brought it up the other night. He said perfectly. It says, what's the difference between this and working with an open water diver? Truthfully, nothing. But what it does is it deepens the level of detail for us, and more things to watch out for, more things we hadn't really thought of that we absolutely take for granted. We take for granted being able to pick the paper up and read it, right? It's a stupid thing, right? But we know people who can't read that paper. It could be in Mandarin for all they know, right? We know people that now have challenges, and think it was his left hand, right? And
Sorry, right.
it was his right hand. Okay, dang it.
But he's left-handed.
Oh,
So.
well, that actually worked out well in his favor, I guess. But if he would have been right-handed and lost his right hand, I don't know about you, but I can't write very well with my left hand. Doing things with my left hand are more difficult because I'm very dominant right. So it's interesting to kind of pull those things together and understand that.
I think regardless, like I worked with a guy who was gotten in a car accident and ended up having an amputation years after the fact. But his handwriting so that during the have, you know, the very stylized engineering, the letters and everything, and sometimes
Absolutely. Perfect. Kurt?
You know, I started thinking we have 9 people here. Counting the instructors. But then the simplicity, everybody has different ideas. And I took different things everybody was saying, and those are some good ideas. Everybody has different ideas on how to teach somebody, how to help somebody. It's not wrong. You know, we have a toolbox or a buffet, if you want to call it. And we can pick and choose different things out of that, of what's going to work for this specific test or teaching ability for this person. So I thought it was great to be able to hear all these different ideas and thoughts on how you're going to be able to help, how you're going to be able to communicate with your student, the person that wants to get involved with this, and how you can use that not just here, but in your whole life, with everything.
Absolutely. And I think everybody out of this, as we start moving forward, we've got some that are already instructors. We have 3 open water instructors in the room right now. We have 2 dive guides that are dive masters that should be dive masters by the end of June as well, and moving up to AI. We've got a dive master done that maybe or maybe not, may move to AI at some point. Who knows?
It's up to him.
It's up to him, and we'll see what happens in the future. But so we have a lot of different levels of professional in here as well. So as you guys go through and you utilize that professional skill to help in the pool or teach in the pool, take this class and apply it to what happens in the pool. And my absolute bet is that it will make your open water class better. It'll make that deep dive or navigation class, it'll make all those classes that much better, because now you're seeing a different level and a different facet of it, right? Brett and I have the advantage of having taught quite a few. I think I taught 250 certifications last year or something like that. It was crazy. And you learn a lot going down the road of excess, right? The path to wisdom is paved with the road of excess, right? You do a lot of it, you learn a lot of little interesting things as you go through this. But I can tell you, for me at least, this brought a new aspect of how I teach. And I was really thankful for this class to go through it, because I had to think about things in a whole new light. How do I do this? And then talking to amazing people like the guys over in Grenada, or to Dan, or the blind guy, it gave me a whole new, I hadn't looked at it from this point of view. And this can really help your teaching and your guiding and your assisting with classes as well considerably. Adam, you're last. Give us a good one.
I feel like you kind of hit it over, everybody did over and over, but at perspective. There's a lot of perspective you got to see from everybody. There's a lot of things like going back to the basics, like you had that conversation with earlier about like just having a regulator fall in your mouth and not being able to take account that I don't even think about using the purge button. But small details like that are things that you need to look into and think about when you're helping and assisting somebody that can't assist for themselves, and being able to be mindful about what options are available or what might need to be, or just simple signs of, like, if somebody's in that situation, like you talked about, having that diver trying to clear their mask, but having that panic look in their face, and how you can be able to assist for them, and just being able to advocate for the person you're helping, being really sensitive to what those needs look like, and be able to kind of like be a mind reader, like you kind of said.
Yep. And one of the things I realized, my grandmother was probably one of the toughest women I'd ever met in my entire life. And the people that were on her wrong side were terrified for their life. And the people that were on her right side realized that they were the safest person in the world, right? But as she got older and started into that dementia, and started into that with Alzheimer's and started to kind of figure out what's going on, and that panic of not knowing and not having the control, I saw the toughest woman I'd ever known in my life become very fearful of life. At one point, when she was in the nursing home, she escaped her room, escaped the secure ward, got into the nurse's office somehow, barricaded and locked herself in it, and was able to use the phone to call me to tell me that some terrorist had kidnapped her and had locked her away, and I need to get there now to help her from the people who kidnapped her. Right? She was terrified. The toughest person I ever met in my life was now terrified of life. Right? And so I would imagine if I were to put myself in the position of suddenly being a quadriplegic, that there'd probably be a fair amount of fear in my life because all of a sudden something dumb like a spider on my nose I couldn't swat away. I mean, just little things, right? A fly landing on your nose. There's just no ability to deal with that on that earth. You know, you think about that. You're now captive to something that's taking control of you. And I applaud those people like Dan who's gone through the process of overcoming that fear, moving from level 2 to level 1 to level 0 and becoming an instructor. Wow, that's amazing. But he's the minority, not the majority. So be aware, there's probably some fear we're dealing with these people as well. You couldn't move all of a sudden, and you had to and poor Ashley had to be the one to clean your butt every day. How embarrassing would that be just for you for the first 6 months or year?
What is?
It is what it is, but there's certainly an amount of embarrassment to have somebody wipe your butt. I mean, it's a fact of life, and you know, birds poop and bees poop, right? But you know, how demasculating would that really be? Or to have to watch somebody put a catheter in. You know, I have a little bit of compassion with these people and realize that there's probably a lot of fear dealing with this as well. And it's going to be more so in lack of control in a new environment. Good job, guys. I think you guys did amazing. I'm looking forward to, let's go get wet.